Hi all, Jordan here. This is my first game ever. I decided to make the Google Dinosaur game. All the artwork is drawn in Krita, a free drawing program. The game is put together in Unity. The coding language is C# and the IDE is Visual Studio Code, which is also free. Overall, the game took me 1 week to complete. Anyway, when you start the game, as you see, the player has a walk animation. Working high in current score and speeds depending on the score. Also, everything is generated randomly. Okay, so as you see, I'm in Unity Hub right now. So let's change our 3D core to a 2D core. Okay. So let's just name our projects to okay, let's make sure your location is in the correct spots. Okay, change the 2D again, and let's go create projects. Okay, this will probably take a little while. So Unity's finished loading. So as you see, this is what we get. So what I would like to do first is go to Unity and Preferences. So what I'd like to do is, let's just go use default again. So as you see, we have a play mode tint here. And I'll explain why I'm changing it in a moment. So I want to choose this light blue color I like. Anyway, let's close it. So the reason why I'm doing that is if we just change the size to like 9 on the camera, you'll see it stays 9 in play mode, and as you see, the play mode tint is happening. However, if we go to 5 again and go in play mode, and if we made that 10, let's say in play mode, let's make that 10 in play mode and go out of play mode, it goes back to 5. So settings in play mode aren't generally saved. They're just forgotten the second you go back into your scene. Anyway, so I want some way so I know when I'm in my play mode and not, so I don't accidentally change settings. Let's go assets. Let's go in my scenes folder. Rename sample scene to okay, game, whatever. Anyway, let's just save it quick. Okay, so now what I want to do is add one more folder in. It's my Dino game Sprite. Just drag and drop it in. So if we click on the stuff, you should have the pixels per unit set to 10 and so on and so forth, different things like that. And also we have our player sprite. So we'll get more into this in the next episode. But if its setting is just single or something, and then what you must do is you must change single to multiple, and then go sprite editor. Okay, then you must go slice and automatic, which I've already done, apply. And then you want to change filter mode from point to point no filter. Just make sure they're all point no filter. Good. Okay. So now what we can go do is we have a folder called logo, which has a logo I made for the game. Let's go file, build settings, or what we can go do is edit project settings, because if we go build settings quick as project settings, let's go player settings. Good. Player settings actually goes to project settings. Anyway, so let's just rename stuff like you don't need to do that, but you can just do that, and you can change the version whatever. The default icon, I go dragging my little logo, and if we open icon, you can see all the different sizes we can get. You just close icon and open splash image. Yes, it's that. So if we just move it and go preview quick, as you see, this is what we'll get when we start the game, which always happens when you play a Unity game. You get the Unity logo. You can change light on dark to dark on light, let's say, and that happens, but I like light on dark. Anyway, you can add your own logo in here, So if we just drag the Cactus wave, I'm not actually going to have the logo in here for this game, but you can do something like that, and that can be your logo. I'm just going to go none and close it. Okay, click on it and close it. Good. Okay, so if you don't like that zoom in, you can change animation from dolly to custom or static. And you can also change all sequential, where you see this logo, or Unity logo below. I'll just leave it like that. I hope you enjoyed this part of the course. See you in the next section. Okay, so this is the next section of the course. So what you must do is, I just want to show you, if we're going down a game, as you see I have the cactuses, right? And also my grass and my player sprite. So I drew all those in a program called Krita. It's a free program, as I said in the intro. Anyway, just download it. So as you see, we have our cactuses, but you might want, if you don't want to use my cactuses, or you want to draw all the assets yourself, then you can open Krita and I'll show you how to do it. I'll meet you in Krita. Okay, as you see, I'm in Krita now. So what you probably want to do at the start is go, as you see there, the start, very convenient. Anyway, let's go new file, and the size I did for the cactuses is a width of 15 and a height of 18. Okay, and make sure these are pixels, by the way. Anyway, so let's go create. And as you see, we have the sheet and we get this pixel because it's so small that it's the size of a pixel. Anyway, if we start drawing, nothing happens. Absolutely nothing. So we must right click on this and just go cut. Good. And make sure the opacity is up. Good. So now we can draw around on it. And if we just go brush presets, change all to pixel art, we get these 3 brushes. Anyways, I'll just use the first brush here, this thin brush. And make sure this size is 1 pixel, because any more would be a little crazy. Anyway, so what you probably want to do is just draw it up a straight line. Anyway, you can draw whatever you like or however you like, but I'll actually meet you when I've finished drawing this cactus. Okay, so I've finished drawing up a cactus. So wait, I actually have one more thing I do want to do. Let's just select the move tool, and let's just move the cactus down by 1. So make sure to leave 1 space around everything, and you'll see why in a moment. So if we went back to Unity quick, then as you see, we have a white outline. If we just look kind of closely, and let's just zoom in, we have a white outline. So the reason why I have a white outline is, if we just go to scene quick and drag in our grass and in our cactus also, as you see, the cactus doesn't exactly blend in with the grass, which we want. So what we must do is we must have a white outline around the cactus. So what I'll do is I'll make a new paint layer and move it underneath, and I'll just color it red. So I'll tell you why I'm doing this in a moment. And just make that big brush, go over here, make that 1 pixel. Okay, and we choose a white brush now. So the red is so I can see the white. Anyway, let's just quickly outline it, and I'll be back when I've done. Okay, I've done. So let's just right click on the red layer and remove layer. And as you see, we have this white outline around it. Now what we must go do is go File, Export. I did it as a PNG. Let's just quickly go Save. Okay. And let's go back to Unity quick. And as you see, we have number 3. So if we drag it in, as you see, it's a little wrong. So what we must do is we must go in cactus number 1. You can actually just rename this to 2. 2 there. Okay. and we'll change the size to 10, and remember the filter mode to point to no filter, and we don't have to change the sprite mode or anything else. So let's just go apply quick, and now if we drag it in, we get our cactus. Anyway, this is the end of this section of the course. I'll see you in the next section. Congratulations, you made it into the third section of this course. So in this section, what we'll be doing is we'll be setting up our scene to have some grass in it and some cactuses. We'll be adding our dinosaur in and adding some collisions and also what's called a rigid body, which basically makes gravity. Anyway, let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is select our grass and just drag it in our scene. So on the y-axis of our grass, we want it to be minus 2.45 or 3, whatever. 5 is quite nice. I'll just leave it like that. I've actually worked out that these settings work very nicely. Anyway, now what I want to do is go add components and add a box collider 2D. Basically that's add collision, and before you start doing other things, we want to click on this little triangle thingy. If we click on it, as you see, these lines go a little lighter and we get these dots here. We can click on the dots and drag them down. So let's just drag the bottom dot down and just drag this down like that. Okay, good. And we can drag this down like that. It doesn't really matter where this is, but as long as these parts touch the edges of our grass, that's really what matters hectically. And you'll see why because when we're generating these, the box collider is how big the grass is going to be. Anyway, let's just click our triangle again. So we finished editing. And what I'll do is I'll select my player sprite, and before we just drag the entire thing in, we're going to go cancel. We're going to just select one of these, open this up and select one of them and click and drag. Okay, so this is very big, so let's make the size for each one of these 0.2. Okay, copy and paste them on all the other axes. Okay, let's move it down and move it to the side. So now let's add the box collider 2D again, and let's select the editing tool. Now just edit it a little smaller. Good. So now what we want is, remember when at the start of this section I was talking about rigid bodies? What we must do is we must go add component and rigid body 2D. Make sure it has 2D in the name unless you're doing a 3D project, because 2D does only 2 dimensions. 3D, or just rigid body, let's say, would be for 3D collisions and stuff like that. So what I'd like to do is open constraints and freeze rotation. Now the reason for that is, so though it probably won't happen because there's a box collider, it might happen more easily with the capsule collider, but this prevents it from rolling over and falling flat on his face. So we'll add a freeze rotation, and the gravity on here I will make it 4.2. Also worked out, that's a nice scale. Okay, so now I want to move the location X on my player. So let's make X, let's think, minus 4.55 on the X, minus 4.55, and there we go. Okay, so now what should happen is, if we press play now, what should happen is our dinosaur should fall on the ground and stay there. Great. And now we go to assets, and we right click and go create a few folders. One of them is scripts, because we're going to be adding scripts very quickly or very soon. So let's add a create in C# script. We won't actually be coding in this particular section, but let's just add a new script called Dino Movement. Good. Now we can select our player sprite sheets _0. That's a bad name for it, I think. So let's just rename it. Click on here, or right click here and go rename. Let's call that player. Or actually, let's just call this Dino player. Good. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to add the Dino movement script onto our player, or just drag it over there. Good. Anyway, this is the end of this section. In the next section, we'll be adding some generation tools, and we'll also be doing some scripting. Not in the Dino movement, but we'll be adding about 4 more scripts that will generate the player. Not the player, the ground, and the cactuses. Anyway, see you in the next section. Bye. Okay, this is the next section of this course where we left off. So, as you see, what we want to do is we want to make the ground generate. So, when the player moves, then it will generate the ground. Anyway, let's go to script, right click, go create C# script, and let's call this ground generation. Let's drag it in Visual Studio Code quick, and I'll meet you in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so now what we want to do is in our ground generation, in here. Okay, first let's just remove all our notes that are automatically added. Okay, that's the first thing I want to do. Let's go tab, public, game objects, that's the actual object. The ground, so that's the actual ground we're going to choose and spawn. And we don't want public actually. Serialized field. So serialized field, and so let's start with private. Private is basically you can't access it in the inspector, so you can edit in the inspector. You can't do that with private, and you can't access it in other scripts. Now there are a few more. We have serialized field now. So with serialized field, you can't access it in other scripts. However, you can access it in the inspector. And then public is you can access it in the inspector, and you can access it in other scripts. Anyway, so we want to do another serialized field, and transform, that's a location. Okay, and we're going to call this generation points. Okay, and now we want to do another serialized field, and that will be a float called distance between. So float is like int, however int you can only do whole numbers, float you can do decimals. Let's do a new private this time though. Remember what private is, it's unaccessible. And let's do float and platform width. Okay. And of course the semicolon. So now what we want to do is in start, platform width is equal to the ground dot get component. Okay, got get components greater than, less than sign, box collider. Remember in the last section of the course, I was talking about the box collider would be the same size as the platform. This is where we're doing it. Is equal to size X. Anyway, in the update, I'm going to do an if statement. So if, open brackets, okay. So if transform, okay, lowercase t, transform dot position dot x is less than generation point dot position dot x. So position is transform. So basically, remember that transform in the inspector where you see the transform, which is the location. We're accessing the transform position of the transform section X, and that's basically telling it which one to do. So in here we're going to go transform dot position is equal to new vector 3. So basically vector 3 is 3 different values. Open bracket, transform dot position dot x plus platform width plus distance between, okay, comma, transform dot position dot y. It's the same as x, but it's y of the vector 3, comma, transform dot position dot z. Okay, so now let's go enter. Now we're going to actually generate the ground with a thing called instantiate. Okay, and the ground, which is the object, comma, transform dot position, comma, transform dot rotation, which is the rotation of the object. Semicolon, and yes, we'll get one error. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code. And let's do a colon there. Back to Unity now. And that error should be removed. Good. Now what we want to do is go create empty ground generation. Let's reset. And let's make that the same location as the grass. And make that 0. Make sure it's parented to grass. And then unparent it. And now it's minus 2.43. Good. So now what we want to do is drag the ground generation script on there. So the ground would be our grass, and generation points, we can select our grass, go Command D and duplicate it and just move it over. And now what I want to do is just create empty ground generation points. Okay, good. Let's parent it to the grass, make that 0. Unparented and delete that. Now ground generation points. So, and now the ground generation point we need to parent to the main camera. So now if we just press play now, okay, just wait and go to main camera, as you see this spawns, and if we move it, it carries on spawning. Anyway, in the next section, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be making the player or the dinosaur move around. Anyway, see you in the next section. Bye. How's it? This is the 5th section. So in this section, we are going to be making the player move around and jump. And also, we will be making the main camera follow the player. Anyway, first let's just drag our Dino movement script into Visual Studio Code. Okay. So what I want to do first is let's just delete everything. So what I want to do is I want to make a public float move speed. Okay, colon, another public float, and this will be jump speed, and we want this actually a serialized field, and then a colon at the end. Okay, so on jump speed, I'm going to make that equal to 10f. Anyway, so now let's just go into enter. So let's add a void start, okay, and let's remove private. Okay, so void start, actually no, let's make that update, fixed update, void fixed update, okay, and I'm going to make movements and open bracket and then a colon. Basically they'll trigger a void movement, however we haven't got that yet. Let's copy and paste that, make this called movements, and delete that and tab. Okay, so what we want is transform dot translate open bracket move speed comma 0f comma just wait comma 0f times by time dot delta time. So time dot delta time makes it so it doesn't just one frame, it isn't just one frame. Anyway, so basically this will now trigger movement every single frame. So what should happen is if we go back into Unity now, okay, we get an error 17. Let's go 17. And of course we forgot to do the semicolon. Go over to our Unity, and now that error will disappear. And remember when we made this dino movements and attached it, here are our two variables. So I actually worked it out, and jump speed, move speed should be 0.17 and jump speed should be 19.77. Actually no, 19.22 there. So now what should happen is if we press play, our little dinosaur should be able to move. And he runs off without us. Great. Okay, so what we want is we want some sort of thing that allows him to jump. Let's go back to our code. And what we want is we want another one of these movement things, but instead we're going to call this jump. Let's go void. So void jump. Okay, and in void jump I'm going to go if open brackets is on ground, and there. Okay, and then we're going to go enter, and I'll explain all this later. Get component, and I've got a few more variables to make first. So what we need is we need a public rigid body and 2D. Remember 2D, and let's call that RB2D. Okay, and now we want another thing for, let's call that box collider 2D, box collider 2D. Good. Make sure this capital, this can be lowercase or anything you want. Anyway, so get components. Okay, get components, and okay, less than greater than sign, rigid body 2D. Okay, dot velocity, okay, is equal to new vector 3, okay, open bracket 0, comma, jump speed, comma 0. Okay, so now we have this is on ground, and we haven't done that. So what I'm going to make is a new one, a new void. So it's going to be private bool, okay, is on ground. Okay, and let's go there, and what I want is return, okay, return my box slider 2D dot is touching layers, layer mask, okay, layer mask dot get mask ground. And before I carry on with all the rest, actually let's just add this one more thing to it. Okay, there. Let's just quickly add a semicolon onto that, and let's jump back into Unity because I have one more thing that I want to show you. So what I want is on my grass we have a layer ground, and there's an auto added, so what I did is I went add layer and I just named this ground. Okay, let's copy that. Make sure it's the same in this. Command V, good. Now let's go back to Unity. Now what should happen is, before we do that actually, we have a RB2D, that's our rigid body, and there we go. Choose Dino Play on both. If you don't, or pray choose some other collider and box line and use that instead. So in game, okay, that's not working. So let's see why. Okay, so we have our ground. We must have it layer mask. Let's copy that. Okay, let's go back to Unity. On our grass, let's add a tag also. Let's call that ground safe. Now let's see. Now let's see if that works. Okay. Okay, I just figured out 2 reasons why it didn't work. First of all, the tag wasn't on the ground. I didn't select that. And second of all, let's go to my code. I never actually call it to jump. Like, what's telling it to jump? So in my fixed updates, what I want to do is enter. So if Okay, open thing. So if input, so open bracket. Okay, let's do that again. So if input dot get key down, key code space. Okay, so if input dot get key down, key code space. So basically when you click space, then this will happen. Just close that quick. So let's just delete that. Okay, there. If key code space, and I'm also going to add another thing, which is going to be OR. So this is basically OR. So you can either have this or that. If you had, let's say, and then you'd have to have that and that pressed together. Anyway, let's just go there. Okay, so if input dot get key down, key code up arrow, then it will happen. Anyway, let's just make a bracket like that. And another one there. And now we want to call the jump. Okay, make sure to do the colon at the end of that one. And now it should work. Okay, so now if we just save it quick and press play now, it should happen is, okay, yes, it jumps. Great. So now there was actually one more thing I wanted to do. I wanted the camera to follow the player, so I'll do that and then I'll end this section for now. So let's go right click, create C# script, main, camera. Good. Okay, so now I want to drag my main camera into Visual Studio Code. Just open Visual Studio Code and choose that. Good. So now what we want to do is let's just delete everything quick and let's go serialized field, transform, target. Okay, now we want another serialized field. Remember, transform is the location, camera or main camera, whatever. We shouldn't actually call it main camera because then it won't like it because the script is called main camera. Anyway, camera, and then vector3 temp vec3, okay, is equal to new, okay, vector3, and then a semicolon at the end. Now void and late updates. Let's just delete that. Okay, so if target is not null, so I'm doing a null check here just to make sure it doesn't give me any null errors. Anyway, so now we want tempvic.x is equal to open close bracket target, which is the target, the player, dot position plot x plus 4.0f. Okay, close brackets. Now tempvic3.z is equal to 0, and now tempvic3.z is equal to this. It's equal to this dot transform dot position dot z. Now colon, Now enter, and now this again. Okay, dot transform dot position is equal to temp3 and colon. Okay, so now we're going to do a thing called else if. So else will just be if target is null. However, there's a thing called else if. So else if, okay, else if target is equal to null. Then what we want is open close brackets, temp3 dot x is equal to camera dot position dot x, and we can basically copy all of this. Okay, we're just going to copy all of this. Let's just copy all of it actually. Okay, and let's paste it all in here and change it a bit. Says equal to camera dot position dot x. Then this is camera dot position dot y. Oh, dot transform. So transform dot position dot y, and now the same thing here. Camera transform dot z, and then instead of this, I'm going to replace with camera dot transform dot position is the same as temp3. Right, okay, so now let's go to our Unity project. Okay, good. And now if we go to our main camera, drag our main camera script on the main camera, choose camera as our main camera, and target as our Dino player. Okay, good. And now if we press play, what should happen, yes, the dinosaur, the camera is following the player. Perfect. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this part of the course. See you in the next section. Okay, so in this section of the course, we are going to be making the dinosaur have a walk animation. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to allow it to spawn cactuses. However, we can spawn the 3 different cactuses we made randomly, choosing. Anyway, let's get started. So first what I want to do is I want to go to my Dino Game sprites, open up these, and remember these 2 images? Well, these 2 have him walking. So what I want to do is I want to select one of them. What I want to do is go Sprite editor. I actually want to change this a bit. I actually want to move this up a bit and scale this up. Okay, and now it's a little bigger. Good. So now we'll close this. Okay, and apply all the settings. Good. So now I want to select both of them. Actually, before that, I want to create a new folder called animations. Good. Now on my Dino player, I want to make a thing called the animator. Okay, don't get confused with animation, animator. Okay, so now we need to make a controller. So let's open animations, go create, animation controller, animator controller. Let's call this player. Good. Now let's go Dino player and drag in our player animator controller into none runtime animator controller. Good. And now that's there. So we need to make a new window. So what we can do is just double click on this and we'll create this new window. And as you see, we have the animator. Let's actually cut this in half. and zoom out. Good. So now let's go Dino Game Sprite. Select both of them, go create, animation, and walk. Or run, whatever. I'll actually call it run. Let's drag it into animations. Let's drag run straight into here. Okay, good. Okay, so now run. So as you see, we have this yellow line basically that automatically plays us at the very start. So if we just go game, put that there. So let's actually change free aspect. I never really thought of doing this, but let's change free aspect to full HD. So you can do what you want, however there's a computer game, not a phone game or anything like that. Of course you can do that, but I won't in this course. It's a computer game which is full HD. Good. So now what I want to do is I want to press play, and now we should, yes, I forgot. That won't work. The reason why is because what you must do is, it is working, however, it's doing it very quickly and then it's just, well, that's it. It's doing it very quickly and that's it, all it's doing. So let's actually change the speed accordingly. Let's go in play mode and see which speed is the best. Okay. So I think I'll actually just go animations and I'll actually just delete this run animation. And let's go sprites. Go sprite editor again. And I'll actually just move this up again. Okay, like that. So let's just apply that again. Make the animation as I did before. Animation. Run. And as you see, this still stays here, which is kind of weird. However, okay, animations. As you see, it has no motion. So let's click on that and we get one motion because we have only added one. Okay, now if we click, press play and yes, forgot to do loop sign again. So let's go out of play mode, and this is actually one of the things that remembers. So that's pretty cool that loop time will remember, and yes, as you see, bounces up and down. We can actually make it a little slow if you like, or we can make it very fast. I'll make it 0.5. Okay, there we go. So little guy is bouncing up and down. Okay, so now what we want to do is later we'll go more in that animator actually, because we're going to make him just a normal pose where he does nothing, but let's actually just leave it at there for now. Now what we need to do is, let's see, we'll play good. Okay, now what we want to do is let's go scene, and I said we're going to do cactuses now. So what we must do is we must go to scripts, and cactus generation is actually a little more complex than just normal ground generation. So let's make a new C# script. Cactus generation. Okay, let's just drag it into Visual Studio Code. Okay, and I'll be back in Visual Studio Code. Okay, I'm in Visual Studio Code right now. So let's just delete everything. So let's add a bunch of serialized fields. The first one is a game object. You might have done that before. Game object. However, we're not just going to do a normal game object. We're going to do an array. So this is all fine and so. However, if we do the closed brackets like we did on serialized field, that turns it into an array. So let's go semicolon. Okay, so serialized field, let's do a few more quick. And game object, collider. Okay, and another serialized field. Let's make this a transform. Okay, transform generation points, and then one more, which is random location addition. So they all they randomly spaced. Now we want a private float. Okay, let's close that. And we want another private float, which is distance between. So remember what float is. That is the same thing as a int. However, it can work in decimals. So now we want another thing, which is an integer, and Cactus index. Anyway, so don't forget the semicolon. So we want to avoid a start. Good. Okay. So we're going to make a choose random cactus, and we'll actually make that in a second. And cactus width is equal to cactus collider, and we did the same kind of thing with our grass or our ground, where we use a block collider to get the size. Get component. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so now the choose random cactus. So what we want is we want a choose random cactus. Void there, and cactus index, remember it's this. Cactus index is equal to random dot range. Okay, so random dot range, and basically that randomly chooses between numbers though. So I'll talk about that in a sec. So cactus array.length. Anyway, basically that chooses a number between 0 and cactus array length. It doesn't choose the number 0 or cactus array length, it chooses in between those numbers. So just know that. Anyway, so now what we want is we want an update. So void. Let's just do an update. Okay, there we go. So void update. So if statement transform lowercase t transform dot position, okay, dot x. And this actually seems very familiar to what we did with our ground generation. If we just save that quick, it's very similar. Yeah, it is identical in fact. Anyway, let's go enter and add our brackets. Okay, so we want a new one, so let's call it set random location. Okay, so now what we want to do is going to go enter. We want a don't want an update, but I'll choose that. Delete the void. Set random location. Okay. So random location addition is equal to random dot range. Remember what that did? It randomly chooses the cacti. Actually no, it randomly chooses the location for the cacti. And by the way, if is float, so that means it's kind of like 11.0, but we can just write it like that. Comma 15f. Okay, colon. Okay, so now what we must do is the distance between is equal to random location addition. Okay, and that will make distance between the same as random location addition. Anyway, so now what we want to do is set random location. Good. In here we also want a choose random cactus one, and now we want a transform. Remember what transform dot position did? It accessed the vector 3 which controlled the movement of the player. Okay, equals new vector 3 open bracket and close bracket transform dot position dot x, that's the x location, plus cactus width plus distance between, comma, transform dot position dot y, okay, comma, transform dot position dot z. Good. And then of course a colon at the end. Okay, now we want it to actually spawn it, so instantiate cactus array. Okay, and then cactus index. Okay, comma, transform dot position, comma, transform dot rotation. Okay, so basically this chooses which objects, the cactus array, cactus index, which chooses which object of the index of the array to choose, and width location, which we've done before. Okay, so if I'm correct, that's all we need to do. Let's go back to Unity quick. And great. So now what we need to do is we need to go ground generation, go Command D to duplicate it. Okay, let's just move it out of the scene. I'm going to create a new folder called prefabs. And prefabs are kind of, so if we go, let's say, just rename this very quick. So prefabs are basically objects that you can store and then drag and drop in other scenes or other locations of different scenes. Anyway, so now let's remove the ground generation script. Let's actually go debug. So now we can change this. And cactus generation, it's pretty cool. You can do stuff like that. Anyway, just go normal again. Now the cactus collider, I'll get into the rate later, but cactus collider. So basically, I'll actually get into that a little later, wait. So basically what we must do is we must go to our Dino game, is get one of our cactus out, and we must drag it into our scene. Okay, so now what we need is a box collider 2D. So actually make it a little smaller, 0.5 by 0.5. No, 0.7. Is that big enough? Nah, it's a little small. Let's make that 1 by 1 by 1 again. Okay, let's go game and check what it looks like. That's about fine. I think maybe a little lower. And let's change ordinary layer to 2. 1. As you see, you can see the white outline. It's doing that. Anyway, let's go back to scene. Okay, make sure the box collider, we have that. Good. Now what we want is we want a tag. So let's add a tag. We'll use this later. And cactus. Cactus, good. So we have a box collider, we have all that. And now what we can do is we can go to prefabs, click and drag our cactus onto there. Now we want to go Command D. Let's make that cactus _1. And now let's duplicate that again, _2. Let's just delete this cactus prefab we have there. Just right, okay, good. So if we go to cactus 1, we can choose a sprite, cactus 1. Okay, let's get out of there. And in cactus 2, we'll use our cactus 2. Okay, I'll show you in a moment how we'll actually set those up. So we have our cactus generation, right? So let's first choose our cactus collider. Okay, there you go. Anyway, and now we need to go to our array. Let's make that number from 0 to 3 and open up the array. Let's drag all our different cactuses in, and you can actually have hundreds of different cactuses and just change this number or press the plus or minus. Anyway, so now still nothing will happen, and the generation point is ground generation point, which we do not want, so let's change that. Okay, let's duplicate it, go Command D, just quickly name it. Okay. Cactus generation points minus 0.3. And let's paste that. Good. Okay. And let's make that 0. Good. Okay, so now what we can do is if we just open our cactuses, let's make those 0. Save and save. Make sure they're all on location 0. Okay, so cactus generation points. Let's actually drag in one of our cactuses. That's the kind of location we want. Over it. Okay, 0, 0, 0. Drag it back in our main camera. Delete the cactus. So now, if I am right, then our cactus generation point. Copy component. Paste component values. So now let's choose cactus generation points. Let's save it. So now what should happen is it should generate all the cactuses in hopefully the right place. And yes, it's choosing our cactuses. And it's randomly choosing them also. Anyway, it would probably be better if you had more variety of cactuses. However, this I think all we'll need for now. However, there's a problem. We can just touch the cactuses all we want. It doesn't really matter. So we'll fix that in the next section. Hope you enjoyed this section. See you next. So in this section, what we're going to be doing is we're going to make it so when the player hits the cactus, then it dies. Anyway, let's start. So let's go to my scripts and let's open up Visual Studio Code and let's go to my Dino movement scripts. Okay, so what we want is we want a new void, so let's enter. Okay, so we want a on collision enter, collision other. Okay, you probably won't be able to do all this. However, I've installed some add-ons, as I said before, that allows me to quickly have some code snippets. Anyway, let's delete the private, we don't need that. So, on collision enter basically allows it, so when it touches the collider, then it dies. So, on collision trigger though, there's another one called on collision trigger, or on trigger enter, I mean, sorry. So you can go through the objects, which works for, let's say, if you fall out of the world or stuff like that. But we won't worry about that for now. Anyway, we're going to do an if statement. So if, okay, so other, so there's the collider. We should probably do collision 2D, by the way. So what we want to do is go on collision enter 2D. Okay, there, now we can actually do it. So let's delete the privates again. Let's copy the if statement. Let's delete that, good. Let's paste the if statement. So if other dot game object lowercase g dot tag. Remember when I added the tag to the cactus in the last section? Well, that's what we're going to use. Is the same as cactus. I added the tag cactus. Let's just copy it and we'll do it later. Anyway, inside here we want a thing to trigger is dead. Okay, good. Now let's make an is dead thing as we made there. Let's go enter again, and void is dead. Good. Okay, so on is dead, we're going to make a bool at the very top. Okay, and we need it public, not because we were accessing this pixel, but later we access it in other scripts. Anyway, public bool, okay, public bool is dead, lowercase I by the way, okay, is equal to false. Good. So in our is dead, I'm going to scroll down, go is dead. Is dead, our bool we just made, is equal to true. Good. Now our rigid body dot gravity scale dot gravity, we're accessing it, our rigid body and gravity scale is equal to F. So it's very heavy and you can't jump anymore. Actually no, not because of that. Anyway, let's just add that 1000 F. Good. Now let's make an animator 2D. actually, I remember I haven't done my animated 2D. Let's actually not do that today. That's a nice thing for another episode, or another section, I mean. Anyway, so let's add an if statement. Actually, no, because we're not doing all that yet. So let's actually, what I'm going to do is do a debug.log. And I haven't actually done that in the course, but basically that just says it in the console that you are dead. Okay. And now, so let's just check we have no errors. Okay, good. And now, if I am correct and I did everything right, what should happen is it should print out something. So let's just touch one of these cactuses. Yes, it says you are dead. And what's awesome about that is if you're dead, that means it's triggering it. So it definitely says that definitely means you're dead. So let's go back to our code. Okay, so what we want to do is there are a few more things we want to do, and there's kind of a biggish job. However, what we want to do is we want, okay, so on our, let's say our jump, let's go jump and add an if statement. So if, okay, you should do an enter. So if is dead is equal to true, then what we must do is, no, add more brackets, good. Okay, is we do a thing called return, which will grab this function, not do it. So let's just copy this if statement, because I'm actually going to use it in a few other places. So in movement, so okay, that's about it actually. Anyway, that's about all we really need to put it, I guess. Anyway, let's just go back to my Unity. Okay, good. Let's clear all our logs and let's press play. So now what should happen is you shouldn't be able to jump once you've touched the cactus. So let's try and jump. Yep, we can't jump. So actually, I'd actually like to make the box collider of our little dinosaur a little bigger. Okay, so jumpy jump, touches the cactus, and he still seems alive. So actually I just want to make this box collider a little smaller. There we go. Okay, so basically the problem about that is he still has his animation, so he's still doing his little run animation. So let's go to the animator and let's go parameters. So what I want to do is add a new bool, and let's call this is dead. Okay, let's go Dino game Sprite, and let's only choose one of those and create animation. Okay, death animation, good. Let's drag it into our animations. Okay, drag our death in, and this time we'll select our run, right click, and we get a lot of settings, make transition though. And it won't do anything, however we must add conditions. So let's select on that blue line now, we selected it, select on, click yes on conditions, or click add to list, and is dead equal to true. And we don't want to return, generally you'd have some return thing like that, but because you can't go back alive again, we're just going to leave it like that. Anyway, so now what we must do is, it's pretty cool, but we can actually play the animation now. So let's go in our is dead. So before that we must make a public animator. Okay. Animator 2D. Good. Okay. Let's go back here and now let's go animator 2D. Okay. Dot set bool. Okay. And open brackets. Okay, and I'll set that bool to, but if we just leave it like that, it doesn't know what to set the bool to. So let's go comma true. Good. Okay, so now what we must do is we must go semicolon, and now if we go to Unity now. So before I press play, I'm going to forget something. Let's go to death, and we need loop time. Like, I don't think we actually do need loop time. I don't think they'll affect anything, but we may as well. Anyway, so now we're doing our little run. Okay. Oh yes, that's why. Yes, we must go to Dino Player and choose our animator, and that's our Dino Player animator. Okay, let's clear all our logs. Okay. So he's doing it to a little run animation, touches it, and he stops. Great. So it's a bit weird. So I think what I'll do is there's a little bit of a pause before he dies. So I'm going to select this and choose has exit time to off. Now the second it touches it, now it should die. So you just try it, touches it, good. And you can't jump, perfect. So I actually want to do my Dino Player, let's make that a 3, because it's a little weird how the dinosaur, anyway, now the cactus isn't in front of the player. Perfect. Okay, and there's a cool setting. If we go game, we can go maximize on play. So now if we play it, it will be nice and big, as you see here. Now we can really see it. So let's good. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is, I think in the next section, that's something for the next section. However, what I'll be doing is I'll be adding some of our high score. We'll be using TM Pro, which is a thing we have to install, but I'll do all that in the next section. See you. Hello, it is section 8 right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to be adding canvas, which is going to include our high score, some of our UI basically. So let's get started without further ado. So first what I want to do is right click in the hierarchy and choose UI. And now we want to go Text Mesh Pro. Okay, so you'll get this little window, don't close it. What you must do is you must go import TMP Essentials. And good. So I don't think you need to do import TMP examples and extras. Well, we might, but let's not do it right now. So like what I did the first time I was trying to use these, the first time I used canvas and stuff, is I tried to fit in here. I was wondering why it wouldn't fit and why I couldn't move the canvas. And so what we must do is we must just half the view make. Okay. And let's select our canvas first and scale with screen size. Good. Okay, let's get our little TM Pro. Select the move tool and let's move it. So you can't really see it, but you can see it's there. So let's make the vertex color black. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to download a Kenny fonts pack. I'll be back when I've done. just downloaded a Kenny Fonts pack. Anyway, basically what that is it's a website called kenny.nl. You'll see the link in the description. Anyway, it's an awesome website. They have tons of free assets. Anyway, so let's go to assets, and okay, let's just drag our Kenny font package inside. Let's rename from Kenny font package. Actually, let's just create a new folder and call it fonts. Let's open Kenny fonts. Okay, let's just drag the fonts out of Kenny fonts. Whatever, actually let's just drag this inside Kenny fonts. Okay, in fonts, let's open this and choose fonts. So as you see, you probably won't have all these, so these are added, I already made because I used this before. Anyway, let's just delete them all. This is what you'll get. Anyway, this is what you'll get. Okay, just wait. Okay, sorry, that was from another project I made. Anyway, so we have all of these different fonts. So I actually chose a font I like, and you may think that what you do is you just select our TM Pro and just drag it in here. However, it doesn't need to for some reason. So what you must do is you must go Window, Package Manager, and just wait a little while for it to finish reload fetching packages. Okay, it finished. Let's change packages in Unity Registry, and let's go Text Mesh Pro. Good, we installed it. So let's go, okay, let's go Window, Text Mesh Pro, Font Assets Creator. So I chose a bunch of sprites, and fonts, and I like Kenny Mini. Okay, let's drag it in the source font file, generate font atlas, and let's save it. Okay, and let's just save it in my Dino Game sprites. I'll be back when I'm done. Okay, let's just go save. Let's go to my fonts, and as you see, here it is. I'll leave all these settings. Anyway, let's just close this. You can change around the settings, but I wouldn't recommend it. Let's just drag it in my font assets, and as you see, we get this cool font. Anyway, let's just drag this in the right location. Okay, so let's make that score. Okay, and make it 5 digits. Anyway, let's just move it like that, and let's move it at the beginning. Okay, and let's choose auto size. Good, so let's just move this a little bigger. Okay, and let's name this current score TM Pro. Okay, now let's just copy this. Okay, now we need to duplicate this again and just move it next to it. Let's name this high score TM Pro. And now I want to duplicate it one more time and just move it over to the side and scale it down, and let's make it high. Okay. Anyway, let's just move this. Good. Okay. Okay, good. So let's select our canvas, and what we want is we want to go to assets and let's go to scripts. So in the next episode, what I'll be doing is some quite interesting stuff. I'll be making a score, so it adds a score after a little while, so it goes so it increases the score of about every second or so. Anyway, I'll see you in the next section. How's it? So in this section, we are going to be printing out the score and plussing the score, so basically adding the score up. So let's get started. So first, let's go assets and let's go scripts. Let's go right click, create C# script and score. Okay. On my canvas, let's add score. Okay, let's just add score quick. And before that, I just want to test something. If I move this window big and smaller, good. Because sometimes if we don't go scale with screen size, like something like that, yeah, it will look a little weird. Or something like that. The different settings. So let's go scale with screen size. Good. Anyway, so let's add the school script to it and add our school to Visual Studio Code. Meet you in there. Okay, let's drag in our score. So basically what we want to do is we want to let's just delete all of these. Okay, on and start. Okay. And start, good. Okay, let's delete the private, good. So void start. Okay, so we want to add a current score, but before all that, we need 2 serialized fields. And before we can do that, also I just forgot. What we need to do is we need to do a using TMPRO. Okay, make sure you do the capitals and copy what this is. So basically that lets you use TMPRO in our scripts. And though we're not going to use it right this second, we are going to use using Unity Engine dot scene management. Scene management. Okay. So we're going to use that a little later. Anyway, so in our start, so before that we want a serialized fields, and we actually need 2 serialized fields. And we want a text mesh pro UGUI. Okay, and let's just copy and paste that for that. Okay. Current score TMPRO. Okay, so we want one, and let's make a new one called high score TMPRO, and of course the semicolons at the end. Good. So first what we want to do is we want to go make a new variable, and we want to call this, let's make it a public int current score. Okay, so in start I'm going to say current score to 0. Okay, and I want to add a score print. Score print, good. Okay, colon. And let's make the score print. Okay. So score print. So void score prints, open close brackets. So out of my current score TMPRO dot text, okay, which is equal to school format, and I'll write school format in a sec, and current school, good. Basically they'll print it out. So now we need to make our school format. Okay, so school format, actually let's just do that. Okay, we want to actually keep private string this time though, and school format, good. So private string school format, and in here we want int, okay, my school. Okay, so now what we need to do is we did my school format. Inside here we want to do a switch, okay, and the first case we're going to do an int in when n is less than 10, okay, and we can actually just delete the rest of this. Okay, good. In return and 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, and this basically adds zeros before our number. Anyway, so if let's say we have 1, it would add zeros before the 1, so on and so forth. Anyway, plus my school dot to string. Okay, dot to string, good. That converts it to a string. Okay, so let's do just quickly go tab, good. Okay, and I'll actually just fast forward this part because it's very repetitive, and then I'll show you how I did it. Okay, as you see, I've written all of my school prints. Basically, we add the zeros before it. Good. So now what I need to do is my school format. So let's see my school format. Where do I do my school format? Here. Good. Okay, so now we need to reference my Dino movement script. So let's go Dino movements and name it Dino colon. Okay, now in start we need to reference this script now. So Dino is equal to a game object, and capital G is equal to game object dot find objects of type. Good. Then the less than greater than signs, Dino movements, and now it's referencing it. Okay, good. So now what we need to do is, now we referenced it, we need to actually add the score. So let's make a bit of space here. Okay, good. So I'm going to use a thing called IE numerator. IE numerator and score incrementer. Score incrementer. Okay, and there we go. Now let's do open and close brackets, and let's do a while. Okay, true, and inside here we want yield, okay, and return. So yield return. So while true, we want to yield return new, wait for seconds. And basically that just waits for this amount of seconds, which we'll put in here. Let's make it 1. And basically that waits this amount of settings, this amount of seconds before it adds 1 to our score. So if open bracket, let's just do an if statement. So if dino is not, so that's a null check, and dino dot is dead. Remember our boolean, as you see, is dead there, and is dead is equal to false, and so all these must be true, and false, and dino dot has, okay, we're not doing that yet, but whatever. Okay, so anyway, and that's about all we need to do right now. So let's go current score plus plus, and that basically just adds 1. Then enter and score print. Okay, and we haven't done score print yet. They just quickly, yes, we have actually, yes. There, we've done score prints, good. And we'll print the score now. Good, okay. So now what we must do is, I think that's all we must do for this particular thing. However, we will be doing high score in the next section. So we'll be working on high score and also how to add memory to the high score. Anyway, let's choose a current score, Pro. We save now, make this a little bigger and test it. So what should happen now is this should increase. Okay, something went a little wrong there. So let's see what happened. If we go back to Visual Studio Code quick. Okay, on start, okay, everything's right. Oh, and we forgot this. Start coroutine. So that's a thing for our countdown. That's what we must use for the countdown. Okay, there we go. And score incrementer is this. Let's go back to Unity. And now it should work. So if we just test it. Yay! And as you see, the zeros are there. So let's just see if the score formatter works. 9, 10. Yes, the score formatter works. Wait. Okay, something went wrong when it hit the cactus. Let's see what went wrong. Just touch the cactus. Okay, that's all correct. What we must do is go Dino Player and change collision detection to continuous. It's not very good, so you probably shouldn't use it on too many objects in your game. However, first of all, it's a small game. Second of all, you can use it on the play because we always want to check if we don't ever to fall out the world. Anyway, if we press play now, and now if we touch it, okay, good. So let me just try this thing one more time because something happened when I jumped at one point. So let's just play it. Yeah, something happened there. Okay, so I think what we must do is go to Visual Studio Code, go to my Dino movement script, and add one more thing to movement, and so it stops moving. And I think we can actually remove the gravity thing. Good. Now let's go, if we go back to Unity, that should fix it, because now we will stop moving. And let's hope that'll work. Let's see. Okay. Good. Okay, this is the end of this section. I'll see you in the next section, where we're going to work on our high score and also add some memory to our high score. Anyway, this is the end of this section. Bye! That's it! So in this section of the course, we're going to be adding a high score and also maybe adding some memory to it. Anyway, let's go to back to our score script. Let's just clear our console quick. Anyway, let's go back to our score script. Good, we're in score script. So what I want to do is, at the bottom, I want to go to my Dino movement actually. So basically what I'm going to do is add a thing called player prefs for my high score. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is, in my isDead, I'm going to make a new thing. Let's go enter, and I'm going to add an if statement. So if, okay, so if player prefs, which is basically for storing integers and stuff like that, dot get int, okay, open close brackets, high score, okay, which is less than score, lowercase s, dot current score. Okay, so I haven't actually referenced this, so I'll just go enter, score, and let's do that, score, lowercase score, and then if you remember what we did last time, then what we did is on my start. Okay, where's my start? Do I have a start? No, I don't seem to have a start. So let's just add a start. Good. Move the private. Void start. Good. Okay, in start, I want to reference it. So score is equal to, and I'll go that's good. Okay, so yeah, we haven't actually been doing a lot of these. So what I'll actually do is, there are a few more things I actually need to do. So anyway, let's not worry about that right now. So we have our score, we referenced our score, so score.current score. Let's go, okay, good. So inside here, let's go score dot update, okay, updates high score, and I'll do that in my score script in a moment. And score dot current score, good, do semicolon. Okay, and before I leave, let's just go to score now. Okay, so in my score, what I want to do is I want to go this time a public void, okay, and that public void is going to be update high score, okay. Let's click enter and let's go int, okay, and a new score, okay. So in here I'm going to, okay, just check everything here is correct, okay, good. Okay, so in here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go player prefs dot set int, okay, and capital S by the way, dot set int, open brackets, and okay, and high, remember what we did in our dino movements, okay, dino movement high score. Let's go to our score again and choose our high score. Where is it? If I can find it, okay, and go comma new score. Okay, now let's go enter high score, okay. Okay, a quick pause here. So player prefs is a class that stores player preferences between game sessions. It can store string, float, and integer values into the user's platform registry. Okay, let's carry on with the video. Capital H high score prints, good. Okay, now let's click enter and do semicolon at the end. And I'm going to make a new function. Void, okay. So void, and it's going to be, just wait a moment. Okay, void and high score print. Good. Okay, in here I'm going to go int and high score. Okay. So high score, let's make a thing called high score quick. Okay. In here I'm going to go int high score and let's make that equal to 0. And you can only access this in here. So you can only access this high score in here. Anywhere else, if we did, let's say in here, we wouldn't be able to access it. Anyway, int high score. So let's add an if statement. Okay, so if player prefs dot has key, okay, open brackets, high score, okay, let's go close brackets, actually no, non-if statement, okay, and now in here we want to go high score, okay, just wait, high score, okay, is equal to player prefs dot get int. Player prefs is equal to player prefs dot get int, open bracket, okay, high score. Okay, and now out of the if statement, okay, let's just clean it up a bit. We want to do high score TMPRO TMPRO high score TM Pro dot text, okay, is equal to score formats and player prefs. So player prefs dot get int and of course our high score. Good. And now semicolon at the end. Okay, so now we have our high score prints. So now in our where is it? Update high score. Okay, high score prints. Good. So now we need to do one last thing. Private voids and on destroy okay, on destroy we need to go player prefs dot save. Okay, and if we save that, if we go to our Unity, what should happen is we have 4 errors. Oh dear. Okay, so the first error, let me actually just fix these quick. Okay, so 74 in our score. Okay, 74. So that's just a missing semicolon, which is very easy to fix. Okay, public, so it's complaining about public is not valid for this item. So let's go to our Visual Studio Code. Actually, which line was that on again? 83. Okay, let's go to 83. 83. Okay, on the wrong script. 83. Okay, doesn't like what I did with my void thing. Update high score. Okay. Okay, turns out that I accidentally did it on here. I don't know why. So you just save it. Go tab. Let's just clean this up very quick. And let's go back to Unity. And now one more error. 82. And there we go. So now if we just go play. And I just want to do this one more thing to our, okay, so what we want is if, let's just do an if statement on update. So we'll remove this later, but just add an if statement. So if is dead is equal to true. There's temporary if statements, then is, okay, what we want is we want using Unity engine dot scene management. Okay, scene manager dot load scene. Okay, and we want to load the scene 1, and you'll see with that later. Just go to Unity again. Okay, actually no, for what we want to do is load scene 0 actually, and that will actually work a little better. So now the second we die, we'll just reload the scene. And now, if I'm correct, then what should happen is if we press play. Oh, wait. Nothing will happen right now, sorry. Let's go to my canvas and choose high score TM Pro. Sorry, high score high score temporary. There, let's press play. And now it should happen. Okay. And we die and it sets it. Like, it does actually change. You can see a little flash. So what I'll do is I'll actually go to my Visual Studio Code and comment it out. Just to show you quick. Just to show you something. So basically, if we play it now, what should happen is it should tell the score. So as you see, nothing happens at the start. If we die, then nothing happens. So we forgot something. Let's go to Visual Studio Code and see what we did wrong. So let's just delete this quick. Okay, I figured out what I did wrong. So for some reason I put a lot of code. I did that in there. So instead I must put in my high score. And now if we go to our Unity again and press play, then what should happen? Okay, let's just get a bit of a high score. Okay, I figured out finally why it wasn't working. What I must do is print it, high score, print on the starts. Okay, now if we go to Unity, let's just go clear quick. Okay, let's go maximize on play and press play, good. Okay, so now we have a high score and let's just try and get past the high score quick. Let's just try and beat the high score. Oh dear, no. Okay, let me just take a sec to beat the high score. Okay, I just beat the high score. I got 12 and my high score is now 12. So the high score works. And if we go out and go in again, there now it's set to 12. So it saves the high score. Anyway, so this is the end of this section of the course. I'll see you in the next section. Bye. How's it? This is the 10th section of the course. So in this section, we're going to be making a death scene, and also when you do die in your game, then it will go straight to the scene, and where you'll get two buttons, a play again button and a quit button. So let's get started. So first, what I want to do is let's go to scenes, and I'm going to select my game scene and go Command D, which is duplicate. Now I'm going to right click and go rename, and you'll see why in a second. Play again. Okay, so you can call it whatever you like. So now we're going to go File, Build Settings. We did this in the first part of the course. As you see, we have a game which is on 0. So we want to drag, let's just drag play again here. So basically 0 is the first scene that's going to play when we go build and run. And play again can be on number 1, and you'll have many scenes, and the scene manager will tell it which scene to go to. Anyway, so remember that play again is on 1. Anyway, let's just close this quick, and let's go to our play again scene, and it's completely identical. So what I want to do is go to our Dino player, and I want to remove the components. And now I'm going to open main camera and remove all our cactus and ground generation stuff. Can delete all of that. Good. And we can leave all the rest like that. Perfect. Then I'm going to select my dino, which is our player. Let's double click and zoom into it. And let's go to the move tool. Okay, there, and let's just move it down a bit so it's on the ground. Perfect. We can actually move a teeny bit up because we still have our rigid body, so it'll fall down. Okay, so we can change collision detection from continuous to discrete, and in our canvas, you might remember when we made the high school stuff, what we're going to do is open up the canvas and right click, and I'm going to create a empty, actually no, I'm going to go in UI. So in here we have a thing called a buttons and a button text mesh pro. I'm going to use the text mesh pro because the text mesh pro has more settings. Anyway, play again. Okay, in here we have an on click, and we'll actually do that later. But you might be wondering where we can say and change it from saying button. We open that up, this little drop down, and we get the actual text. So let's call this play again and use the same font. We use the Kenny Mini fonts. Anyway, and now what we need to do is just select the rect tool and just make it a little bigger. And just move it in a nice position. Actually, let's go Command Z and let's make width. Let's make the height a little bigger. Okay, perfect. And now I'm going to just move it up a bit. And you can actually change the button from UI Sprite to whatever you like, really. I won't actually be doing that, however you can. So if you drew up a button for yourself, you can very easily do that. Anyway, let's duplicate our play again button, move it down a bit. And this can be the quit button. Sorry. Quit and open it up and let's... Okay. Anyway, so I want to actually make the font size a tiny bit bigger on both. Let's actually make it, let's make it a auto size actually. And actually no, let's just make it the set size. Let's make it about that big. And the quit button can be about the same size. To copy that, so the size I've got is 25.6, and that seems to be a nice size for me. Anyway, I'll actually choose the bold setting on here. Of course, there are many other settings you can choose, but I'll just choose the bold. Anyway, so when you click on the button, nothing happens. So let's actually just save this quick and just press play. And it'll maximize on play. So when we click, as you see, we get it's pretty cool. It changes colors, and when you press it, you can see you clicking it. So let's go to the button settings and see what we got. So if we go to our play again button, let's actually just rename this. Okay, good. So play again button, as you see, we can change these. So I don't think I will actually change them. However, and also if we go interactable, then first of all we use the disabled color, and second of all, when you click on it in play mode, it won't actually work. Anyway, let's make it interactable again. And if we go transition, we can choose color tint, which is what we're using. Sprite swap, so they choose a different type of button, and animation. I'll just leave color tints, but as you see, we have an on click here. So on click, we're going to use our script for that, but let's add a thing called create empty scene manager. Okay, let's reset everything and let's go to script, right click, create C# script, and let's call this scene manager. Good. Okay. press in Visual Studio Code and I'll see you there. Okay, I'm in Scene Manager. So first I want to do a using Unity Engine dot scene management. Okay, now what I'd like to do is now it's accessing scene management. So let's rename start to, let's think, let's do play again, and let's do this one, quit. So I'm going to do quit. It's a very simple way of doing a quit. So I'm going to do quit first. First you do application dot quit. Okay. And for our play again, I'm going to go Scene Manager. Make sure you do Scene Manager, not Scene Management. Dot load scene. Okay. Open bracket, close bracket, 0. And remember that if we go back to Unity quick, I'll fix that in a sec. If we go build settings very quick, as you see we have play again and we have an index of it, 0 and 1. So 0 is our game, which is the first thing that starts when we build it. As I was saying, play again is 1. So if we wanted to go to play again, we'd go over to 1. Okay, and I actually want to go to Visual Studio Code again. So play again, and also we want a way to actually get to the death scene. We won't be using it in this particular scene, but I'll show you in a minute. Anyway, let's just, oh, and I forgot, we need a public void. So make sure you add public in these. Okay, so public void there. And we want another public void, and let's call this let's actually call this game scene and play again scene. So play again scene will go over to, let's actually just call this death scene. Okay, good. Okay, done. Good. So death scene would loads the scene 1, which is this scene we're working on now. The quit will just quit the application, and game scene will be the first scene we go to. Okay, so let's go back to Unity. Okay, sorry, I forgot to make colons. Okay, there and there. There we go. Now let's go back to Unity. Okay, Scene Manager. Okay. Okay, so I figured out the problem was it didn't like that I named the name of the scene the same as a set thing in Unity. So Scene Manager, I named it Scene Manager as a class, so it didn't like that. Anyway, I changed it to Scene Control, and I went over to Unity, and also I have to rename this also. Good. Let's go to Scene Manager, drag Scene Control on, and nothing happens. And let's just close these. So the play again button, let's go open this up. Actually no, we must drag our scene manager over the none object. Then let's open none function and scene control, as you see. So we want the play again to go to the play scene. Well, actually no, let's just go to, yes, the play scene. Now we want the quit button. Let's go over to scene manager again. Okay, scene control, and they'll just be quit. And let's save this now, and let's copy our scene manager. Let's go scenes, and let's go to our actual game, and we're actually not going to use the scene manager in this one. So what I'm going to do is open Visual Studio Code, go to Dino Movement, and remember when I did Unity Scene Management on our Dino Movement? We're going to use that now. So what we're going to do is at the very bottom, remember IE enumerator? So let's just find that. Actually no, we haven't got it in here, so let's just make one. IE numerator. Good. Okay. Load death scene. Good. Okay, and remember yield. Okay. Return new. Wait for seconds, as you remember, but we're going to add real time. Okay, open bracket 1, so we're going to wait for 1 second, and now we're going to go scene manager, okay, dot load scene, and we're going to load scene 1. Good. So there are a few other ways we can do this, but I'm just going to do it that way, and of course a semicolon at the end. Let's go back to Unity. Oh, and I nearly forgot. Nothing will happen because we're not calling this. So if you remember, we did a start coroutine. So start coroutine, load death scene, and there we go. And then a semicolon at the end. Now let's go back to Unity. Okay. And let's just actually check. Yes, I think that should work now. And when we did, if we must wait a little while, and then it will send us to the death scene. Okay, wait, and yay, it sends us to the death scene. And now, if I'm correct, quit does nothing because we're in Unity, so that wouldn't really work. But play again, it plays our scene again. And if we just die quick, as you see, we have a high score of 12, and it stays that way. There's one thing I want to change. Okay, good. Anyway, let's just close this quick and stop playing. So we're nearing the end. So in the next section, we're going to make some new animations. We're going to learn about headers, and we're going to be adding an increased speed. Anyway, I'll see you there. How's it? It's Jordan here. So in this section, which is section 11, we are going to be increasing the speed. So let's start. So first, I want to go in Visual Studio Code in my Dino movements. So in the movements, I'm going to choose increase speed. Okay, increase speed. There. Open bracket like that. So I need to make a variable for increase speed. Okay. Let's go enter. Increase speed. No. So we want let's choose a private void and delete private. Good. That's all fine. Good. Tab and enter. Good. So there's going to be increase speed, void increase speed. Let's just go enter. So we want to make a float. Okay. Increase speed. Okay, lowercase I, which is equal to 0.0003f. Figured out that was actually a nice speed for increased speed. and colon. There. Okay. So now let's go enter. So if, okay, let's do an if statement. So if score, so we're accessing the score script. So if score, okay, dot current score is less than 0, okay, then we want move speed is the same as score dot current score, okay, the percentage sign 10 equal to 0 and then a question mark. Okay, now let's do open close brackets, move speed plus increase speed. Okay, then remember we're not doing a semicolon over here, instead we're doing move speed after that, then colon. So this line of code basically checks whether it's 10 or 20 or 30, that kind of thing. Anyway, so if we just save it, let's just delete this. There, okay, make sure we have our increase speed. Good, yes. So now what should happen is, let's just close that quick. Anyway, if we go to Unity, what should happen is it should increase the speed by a smallish amount every single time it reaches 10 or 20 or 30, that kind of thing. Anyway, let's just try and get a higher score. And just to make sure we are increasing the speed, I'm going to add a debug. You might know how to do a debug now, I've done it before. It's this kind of thing. So let's just copy this debug, and in my increase speed, let's go. Command X, good, and let's paste it after that. Good. So let's go Unity quick. Okay, good. Now let's not maximize on play, let's clear the logs. Let's try and get our score past 10. Okay, something's wrong there. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Okay, so it turns out it was working fine. The debug went a little crazy. Anyway, let's just play now. So if we do past 10, we'll increase speed. Anyway, you must look at the score. Let's try not to die. Yep, we're increasing speed a teeny bit. Yeah, we're definitely increasing speed. So if you like, you can actually make a little more, which is what I think I'll do actually. 0.01. That'll increase speed quite a bit. So let's just see if that's a nice speed. Let's press play and let's see. Okay, space. A little too fast. I think let's make that 0.5. I think that's fine. Anyway, so this is the end of this section. So in the next section, we're going to be mostly finishing off our game, and we're going to add some animations, and also we're going to be making so it starts. So when it starts, nothing happens. You must press space to start, and then you actually start the game. Anyway, that's all for next section. Bye. How's it? Join here. In this section of the course, we are going to be finalizing our game, and we're also going to be actually building it. Very exciting. Anyway, let's go over to Visual Studio Code. Okay, I'm in my Dino movement script in Visual Studio Code. So what I'd like to do is add another public bool next to is dead. Public bool has started. Okay, so has started is going, nothing's going to happen until has started is equal to true. Anyway, in start, I'm going to set has started to false, equal to false. Good. So now what I need to do is make another one called move speed is equal to 0f. Okay, and the reason why is because then it won't move at all. Anyway, so we're going to make another move speed actually. So we're going to, where is it? Where's our move speed? There it is. Good. Okay, we're going to make a public. Actually, no, let's make this private. And let's make this float called current move speed. Anyway, now here we are going to, before we set move speed to false, we're going to go, before we set move speed to 0f, we're going to go current move speed is the same, actually no, move speed is the same as current move speed. Okay. I actually want something like that actually. Anyway, so now we have it's the same as current move speed was the same as move speed, but now it's 0. They're different. Anyway, you'll see why. Anyway, so later we'll set up the animations for this. Anyway, so first I'm going to go to my jump. Where's my jump? Okay, here. So I'm going to have that is dead true, or has started is the same as false. Okay. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to make this if states. I'm going to make, where's my jump if states? Okay, where's my thing that actually sells a jump? This. I'm going to make this an else if and do an if statements. Okay, so you could, an else is just an else, so a boolean, if we made this boolean false, that would be whether a boolean was true. However, else if, we can do a different thing to the other, to this if statement. Anyway, let's go if has started is equal to false, and the input docker key down stuff. Let's just copy all of that, and good. That's all we need in here. And then in here, this empty space, we said has started equal to true, colon, and move speed is equal to current move speed. So now it's set back to its original move speed. Okay, so make sure they have semicolons and everything. Perfect. So now let's go to our score script. Okay, and our score incrementer. Okay, so we're going to do the null check and the dino is dead, and we also going to do and dino dot has started, so accessing my has started is the same as true. Okay, I'll make it so it will only do this if the has started is true, and also all these, the rest of the conditions. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that's about all we need to do for now. Let's go back to Unity. Okay, and now let's play it. And now what should happen is nothing should happen when we start. Okay, good. Nothing, and the score doesn't add. Press space and he starts. Good. However, let's just go play again. As you see, it has this little walk animation still. So what we want to do is we want to make the animator. We need to go animations. Let's delete the death actually, and rename this to started, whatever. Okay, let's just move here. If you hold on Alt, you can move around, by the way. So what we need to do is let's go Command D on the death, and let's name this started, and let's go right click and set layer default state. So now this is orange. Okay, let's just call this. Okay, so now let's go right click on start and mark transition to run. Okay, and we don't want it back either. On here, we're going to go add a new animation, and let's call this, let's think, not start. Okay, let's create a new ball. Make sure you need parameters, by the way. And let's call this not starting. Let's copy that for our code because it must be identical. On here, let's add new condition. Make sure you're selecting this blue line and choose and open this and choose not starting, which is equal to false. It's not starting yet. So now let's just save this, and let's actually turn off has exit time also. Anyway, let's go back to Visual Studio Code and let's go to my Dino movements. Okay, on the start, we're going to use our animated 2D. So on start, we're going to do this line code, animated 2D.set bool. Just wait, let's just go back to Unity and copy that bool again. Double click on it to rename it, but instead of renaming, just copy it. Okay, let's paste it. Good. It's set to true. Actually, no, we don't want to do that, and we don't need to do that either. Let's just go Command X, delete it. Okay, let's actually just go Command Z. Turns out we do actually need that code. Okay, so now we need to do an if statement in our fixed updates. So if, okay, so if statement, so if if has started is the same as true, okay, then we want to play that animation and set this to false. Good. So now if we save it and go back to Unity, and clear all the logs. If we press play now, what should happen is it should do absolutely nothing, and it shouldn't have a walk animation either. Good. Press play and it plays its little walk animation. Yay! So now this is actually all we need to do for the entire course. So there's one more thing we need to do, which is not in our scene at all. In fact, we need to go to File, Build Settings. Okay, so this is the last time we're actually going to go in here. Make sure everything's correct. Game is at the start. Good. And now let's choose the platform. Let's leave all these settings the same. And now let's click Build. And it'll show you the location you want to put the application in. I'll just choose my applications. And let's save it as my video. Okay. And now let's click Save. And now all we have to do is wait a little while. See, if we just wait, then what should happen is it should instantly, as you see, it's building it, and I'll put it on when it's finished. Okay, if you go to applications, you should find your game called Dino Game Video or whatever you called it. As you see here, we have our game. Nothing happens. Press play, you start. Anyway, we have our play again buttons and quit button. Quit will close it, play again will play again. As you see, you can jump over cactuses. The cactuses should randomly be chosen. Okay, good. Anyway, there's the end of this course. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye!